The Michigan Militia. They're making a comeback right here in Metro Detroit. If that doesn't surprise you, wait until you hear what some of them are eating. That story coming up on Action News at 6.
Talk about a blast from the past. When's the last time you heard anything about the Michigan Militia? Well, one of its top members says the militia is back and rebuilding right here in Metro Detroit. Action News investigator Ray Saya has more on a group of citizens who still love their guns, but has a new approach that might surprise you.
The Michigan Militia hasn't made headlines in a while, but they're making a bit of a comeback. And some of you may be surprised where they're making a comeback. You'll also be surprised what some of them are eating. This is Lee Miracle, and he wants you to know the Michigan Militia is alive and well, growing in Metro Detroit of all places, and accepting new members, even vegetarians.
We have members that are vegetarians. Yes, we do.
Vegetarian members of the Michigan Militia.
Absolutely.
Vegetarian sharpshooters and camouflage are among many signs the Michigan Militia is changing. And Lee Miracle is its new face. A man that wears a friendly smile as often as his pistol. A man who adores his 4 kids and loves his Middle Eastern neighbors in southwest Detroit.
Middle Eastern, Northeastern, it doesn't matter. They're my neighbors.
And a man who's got deadly aim with weapons, as well as his sense of humor.
See, you're veering to the left. You know, I just can't stand that people veer to the left. We do that too much in the country. Veer to the right a little bit, okay?
Veering too much to the right, according to Lee, is what gave the Michigan Militia a black eye during the 90s. That's when several members were arrested on weapons and conspiracy charges, and Oklahoma City bomber Tim McVeigh was falsely linked to the militia, despite never being a member. During that time, the militia lost many members, and Lee says news reports falsely depicting the militia as radical extremists didn't help. What do you think of us, the media?
Ooh, you know what? If the camera's running, I'm not going to answer that.
As top man of the militia in Metro Detroit, Miracle is well aware in order for the militia to rebuild and grow, it has to change public opinion. He says the militia is doing that by changing its approach.
You don't see anger right now, and whether that's good or bad, to me it seems to be it's a bit more sane that we have clear-thinking people.
The mission of those people, according to Lee, is to be ready for anything, from emergencies to natural disasters that could cripple urban areas.
We got a guy that when there's a storm, he goes out and he cuts trees off the road to clear the road. Oh, we had a guy, the blackout, put his uniform on, his militia uniform, and white gloves, and went out and directed traffic. We had one guy his wife just had a baby, and, you know, the guys are all congratulating him, and
Michigan Militia we're talking about?
Yeah.
We are very aware of the different groups here in state.
This is Special Agent Bill Kowalski of the FBI. He says in recent years the Bureau has enjoyed a good relationship with militia groups. Kowalski expects that relationship to continue as long as militia groups abide by the law.
There are a large number of individuals in this group who understand their civic duties and are trying to do the right thing.
Does it surprise you that some members of the militia are vegetarians?
Yeah, frankly, that does surprise me.
The Michigan Militia may have new eating habits, but make no mistake, some things remain the same. They still love their guns, and once a month on a farm near Lansing, it's target practice.
The guys that's vegetarians, no, I wouldn't tangle with them. I mean,
you wouldn't tangle with a vegetarian Michigan Militia member?
No.
Another thing that stayed the same, says Lee, is the militia's steadfast commitment to protect and defend freedom, even if it means taking on an unjust government.
Would you coordinate an intervention of the government if you deem the government as unjust?
If it had to be, and if it ran completely contrary to the Constitution.
And you'd be willing to give your life?
Oh, absolutely.
Lee Miracle says he hasn't always cared much for media attention, but he's getting a lot of it lately. Lee and the militia are featured in a 9-page spread in this month's edition of Our magazine. If you'd like to read more about Lee and the new militia movement, you can pick up a copy on newsstands. Ray Saya, Channel 7 Action News.
I spent some time with the militia about 3 years ago covering them, and that's what they insist. It's all America's duty to be prepared to pick up arms and defend the country, and that's what they do.
You're surprised there were vegetarians among them, too.
I am surprised there were vegetarians. They do look like a hamburger-eating bunch, Jerry.
Well, a great night to be outdoors and on the patio and maybe getting out the barbecue. You may want to warm your hands, though, too, because it is getting cool. We're going to drop down through the 70s, the 60s, eventually into the 50s, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were a couple of spots that made it in the 40s before the night is out. Skies are clearing up. The rain that we had this morning is moving well off to the east down over Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York. Here's a look at it on Viper. In fact, they have severe thunderstorm watches up from New York City all the way up along the coast of Maine now, along the East Coast. Just a solid line of thunderstorms now moving through the eastern part of New York, on up through Vermont, New Hampshire, on into Connecticut, eventually into Rhode Island, and on up into Maine. This line stretches all the way back down here through West Virginia and on into Kentucky. So it's well to our east, and we expect it will stay dry tonight. In fact, skies will be clear around here. That rain did do us one big favor last night. It kind of washed out all of the pollen out of the air. Today's weed pollen was low, and the mold count, though, continues to be on the high side. 70 degrees right now at Pontiac, 72 in Mount Clemens, already down to 68 degrees at Port Huron, 75 degrees in Detroit right now. 53% is the humidity. We have a steady barometer, and our winds are out of the north at 10 miles an hour, bringing in all that cool air. Now, overnight lows will be in the mid-50s here close to town. You get out some of the suburbs, 53 at Clawson, 52 at Macomb Township, but even further to the north, if you go up around Memphis, you might find temperatures down in the upper 40s, and the same story out around Fowlerville or even Brighton or Howell later on tonight. So it's going to be a chilly night around here. We expect that rain will continue to push off to the east for the remainder of tonight as the clouds continue to thin out. But we do have one weak system up here across the Dakotas and Minnesota. It's a weak cold front that will be working its way across the state tomorrow, mostly across upper Michigan. But by this time tomorrow night, it'll be getting close to the thumb, and we may see some showers holding together long enough to make it into maybe the Flint, Saginaw, Bay City area. But it'll be on Friday when this front moves on through Metro Detroit. We give it just a slight chance of bringing any rain through here, and even then, that's kind of giving it more than it's due at this point. It doesn't look like it'll have much support for any rain. 67 tomorrow at Marquette. It'll cool off there where they're getting rain. 76 at Traverse City, while we'll be closer to 80 here in Detroit. As for boaters, just a delightful day. Mostly sunny, variable winds 5 to 10 knots. Not much of a breeze for the sailboats, however. Clearing and cool tonight, 55 the overnight low here in town. So you can leave the air conditioning off, turn off the fan, and leave the windows open. Tomorrow, a warmer day with a high temperature of 80 degrees. We'll have mostly sunny skies tomorrow. Might have a passing cloud every now and then, but by and large, a sunny day with a northwesterly wind at 5 to 15 miles an hour. Friday, slight chance of a scattered shower as that front gets close to us, but otherwise a dry day and a high of 81. Weekend looks outstanding. 82 on Saturday, 84 on Sunday, dry weather. Next chance of rain, and the best chance of rain really in the days ahead, comes on Monday. We're going to get the heat back, or at least warmer temperatures, but it doesn't look like we'll get the oppressive humidity back anytime soon.
That's what really bothers you so much, that humidity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sigh
of relief.
Yeah, sigh of fresh relief.
Fresh relief. All right, here's the question. I think Tiger Woods is going to make a comeback. College, he's going to Michigan State. That's what it looked like today at the Buick Open. He was hanging around with the coach.
Yeah, Don Shane with that story when we return on Action News at 6.
Yeah,